What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Game Day with Trey. Of course, this is your host, Trey, and today we're going to talk about this Friday night, October 25th, full NBA slate. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into this, guys, real quick, right? So, first game we're going to talk about is the Brooklyn Nets at the Orlando Magic. All right, so this game will be played at 7 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Brooklyn plus 12. Over-under is at 215. Some places you can get Brooklyn plus 11.5, and the over-under is at 215.5. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at this matchup real quick, guys. All right, so in the one and only game this team has played, all right, as far as the Brooklyn Nets is concerned, the Brooklyn Nets are scored 116 points on 44% shooting and allowed 120 points on 48.8% shooting. Cam Thomas is averaging, he scored 36 points and 5 boards. While Jalen Wilson, he had 16 points, 4 boards, and Cameron Johnson, he came in third as a double-digit scorer. And Dennis Schroeder is also dishing. He also dished 7 assists. Now, the Brooklyn Nets shot 39.5% from beyond the arc and 76% from the free throw line. The Brooklyn Nets also allowed 32.1% shooting from deep and grabbed only 43 rebounds, guys. All right, and when you're looking at what the Orlando Magic did in their previous game, the Orlando Magic came in. They scored 116 points on 42.7% shooting and allowed 97 points on 39% shooting against the Miami Heat. Paulo Banchero scored 33 points. He also gathered up 3 assists, while Franz Wagner he scored 23 points and got himself 4 boards. Gary Harris came in third as the double-digit scorer, and Jalen Suggs, he ended up grabbing 2 boards. The Orlando Magic ended up only shooting 36.7% from beyond the arc and 72.7% from the free throw line. The Magic did allow 32.4% shooting from deep and only grabbed 57 boards in the game, guys. All right, so as far as injuries concerned, Brooklyn, they're coming in. We already know Day'Ron Sharpe, the center, he's out with the wrist. Bogdanovich, he's still out with the wrist, and Trendon Watford's still out with the hamstring. And for Orlando, Jonathan Isaac already hurt. All right, he's questionable with the hip injury. He exited the last contest against Miami with left hip soreness, guys. All right, so looking at these two teams and how they actually match up on the court, through one game, like I said, Brooklyn scored 116 points. That put them as 10th best offense in the NBA so far. And Orlando Magic, they only gave up 97 points. So that is the second best defense in the NBA currently right now, guys. All right, when you look and flip it, Orlando scored 116 points just like Brooklyn did, so that ties them for 10th in the NBA. But Brooklyn gave up 120 points, so they're the 21st worst defense in the NBA, guys, and that was in their only matchup on the court against Atlanta. Now, they played Atlanta and Orlando played Miami, guys, so you tell me who you think is better. Definitely Miami is better than Atlanta, guys. All right, so understand that they gave up 120 points to Atlanta. All right, and they only scored 116 points against Atlanta. You know what I mean? So just understand that, guys. All right, so when you look at shooting, okay, so Brooklyn from 2, they're shooting 47.9%. That's the 25th worst 2-point shooting team in the NBA, and from deep, they're shooting 39.5%. So they are the 6th best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. But when you look at the inverse, the Magic are only allowing their other opposing opponents, which was with Miami, to shoot 32.4% from 3. Okay, so that put them at middle of the pack as far as defense against the 3, and they were the number 4 best defense against the 2 in the NBA the other day, with 43.8% is what they allowed to shoot from 2. When you look and flip it in inverse, Orlando came out and they only shot 48.9% from 2. That's the 23rd worst offense in the NBA, and they only shot 36.7% from 3. That's the 14th worst 3-point shooting offense in the NBA. And then Brooklyn, man, they're not too much better on defense. Their defense is 13th against the 3, and 23rd against the 2, guys. All right, because they allow you to shoot 57.7% from 2 and 32.1% from 3. All right, if you break it down by quarter, first quarter, Brooklyn came out, they scored 24 points. All right, in their first quarter. They're the 17th best offense in the first quarter, but they're going against Orlando, who gave up 32 points in the first quarter to Miami, man. That puts them at 25th, right? And then you look at it second quarter. All right, well, hold up. We'll look at Orlando's first quarter. So you look at Orlando. They scored 32 points in their first quarter. That made them the third best offense, but Brooklyn scored 30 points in their first quarter, so that made them the 22nd best offense. All right, then you go to second quarter. Second quarter, Brooklyn scored 31 points. That's the 8th best offense in the NBA, but Orlando's defense began to clamp down because they only gave up 22 points in the second quarter to Miami. And then when you're looking at the inverse, Orlando came out and scored 26 points against Miami, and Brooklyn gave up 21 points to Atlanta. So that's the 21st worst offense versus the 4th best defense. But we're talking about they played Atlanta, guys. Like, we got to take all this data with a grain of salt at this point in time, right? So third quarter, Brooklyn came out and scored 28 points. Orlando only gives up 18 points in the third quarter. Second best defense versus the 21st worst offense. And in the fourth quarter, Brooklyn scores 33 points, which is the 4th best offense. But Orlando, they only give up 25 points. That's the 9th best defense in the NBA. And then when you flip it, look at Orlando in the second half. 3rd best offense in the NBA, scoring 39 points in that third quarter. But Brooklyn, they'll give up some points in the third quarter because they gave up 32 points to Atlanta, 14th worst defense. Then you look fourth quarter, Orlando only came out and scored 19 points, but Brooklyn gave up 37 points in the fourth quarter in their one game, guys. So understand what's going on out here and how these teams play. When you look at the situation, right? Okay, situationally, we all know that both these teams are 1-0 against the spread. Okay, but as far as win-loss is concerned, straight up, Brooklyn's 0-1 and Orlando's 1-0. All right, over-under, both of them had their one game go over. All right, now when you're looking at these two teams and how they played the last 10 times they have matched up on the court, Brooklyn does run the series 6-4 straight up, but Orlando runs it against the spread, 6-4 against the spread, and it's been 5 to the over, 4 to the under, 1 push. Orlando did beat this team the last 2 times they played and covered the last 2 times they played, but Brooklyn beat them the first 2 times last year, 124 to 104 and 129 to 101. And Brooklyn covered the first 2 last year, but that was a completely different Brooklyn team. They had Mikal Bridges on the team, and Orlando was still trying to figure some things out. Orlando also was battling a lot of injuries last year at that point in time as well, guys. All right, so when you're looking at these 2 teams, you got to understand what's been going on and how this game will be won, right? So the Magic have won each of their last 19 home games against teams that held a losing record. The Nets have lost each of their last 7 road games against teams that held a winning record. The Magic have covered the spread in each of their last 13 games as home favorites against Eastern Conference opponents, right? And the Nets have failed to cover the spread in 5 of their last 6 road games against opponents who are on the first leg of a back-to-back. Now, as far as total points concerned, 9 of the Magic's last 10 home games have gone under the total points line, and each of the Nets' last 5 night games against Southeastern Division opponents have gone over the total points line. So the Magic are a better team here and have the defense to give the Nets a whole bunch of trouble. But this line's super big, man. You know what I mean? Like, really big, especially this early in the season. Brooklyn Nets are super big underdogs against the Hawks and had their chances to win the game. The Nets at least covered. I'm just not excited to lay such a massive number so far this early in the season, guys. I just can't do it, right? So what I would lean towards is maybe taking the Magic's team total points over the 112, over 112 and a half, because remember in the last game the Magic were able to come out and put up support points against a vaunted Miami, and they scored 116 points in that game. So you know they should be able to eclipse the 112.5. But on to the next game. Next game we will be talking about will be the Toronto Raptors versus the Philadelphia 76ers. This game will be played in Toronto at Scotiabank Stadium. Kicks off 7 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Toronto plus 3.5. Over-under is 219.5. But I believe there has been some kind of movement in this line. Yeah, now it's 76ers minus 4.5, and the over-under still at 219.5. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at this matchup, man. In the one game Philadelphia 76ers played against the Milwaukee Bucks, they came out and scored 109 points, shot 41.8% from shooting, and allowed 124 points on 53.8% shooting. Tyrese Maxey scored 25 points, and got 3 assists, while Kelly Oubre Jr., he got 21 points, 2 boards. Kyle Lowry is the double-digit third scorer, right? And Caleb Martin, he came in, grabbed 9 boards. All right, the 76ers are shooting 25.8% from beyond 3, which is horrible right now, and 70.4% from the free throw line. 76ers are allowing 43.2% from shooting deep and are grabbing 49 rebounds per game in that one game. Right now, Toronto against their one game against I believe it was Indiana. All right, the Toronto Raptors scored 106 points on 41.9% shooting and allowed 136 points on 58.6% shooting. Chris Boucher, he actually scored 18 points and got 2 boards, while Grady Dick, he got himself 16 points, 2 boards, and Emmanuel Quickley, he was the third double-digit scorer, and Jamil Sheehy, he also ended up dishing out 4 assists. The Toronto Raptors shot 38.7% from beyond the arc and 75.9% from free throw line. Toronto allowed 46.7% from shooting from deep and grabbed a total of 38 boards in that game. When you're looking at the injury report for these two teams, of course, we already know Caleb Martin, he's probable with the calf injury. He's fighting off. Paul George is still out, and Joel Embiid is still out. For Toronto, Kelly Olynyk is still going to be out. Emmanuel Quickley will be questionable with a lower body injury. He suffered a pelvic contusion. It's unsure if he'll be out there and face the lineup today. DJ Carton, he's questionable with the ankle. He's nursing. Jacoby Walter, of course, the shoulder. RJ Barrett, he's questionable with the shoulder as well, with the AC sprain and the right shoulder. And then Bruce Brown, we already know he's out, guys. All right. So what did these two teams do by quarter when they played? So Philadelphia's got the 20th best offense in the first quarter. They scored 23 points, whereas Toronto gave up 33 points in the first quarter. So they're literally the 28th worst defense in the first quarter at home. All right. Then second quarter, Philly came out. They scored 24 points. Once again, the 22nd worst offense in the NBA, but Toronto, one of the worst defenses in the NBA. They gave up 36 points in the second quarter. Third quarter, Philly came out, scored 34 points, 10th best offense in the NBA. Toronto, they gave up 36 in the third quarter, man. That's the 23rd worst defense in the NBA. Then in the fourth quarter, Philly came out and scored 28 points, 16th best in the NBA, and Toronto gave up 31. Then you look in the inverse, Toronto, first quarter, they scored 32 points. That put them to the third best offense in the NBA, but Philly only gave up 22 points in the first quarter, so that makes them the 5th best defense in the NBA. Then you look in the second quarter, Toronto scored 17 points, 29th worst offense in the NBA. And Philly, they gave up 36. So that puts them at 28th worst defense in the NBA. Third quarter, Toronto scored 30 points. That's 18th best offense in the NBA. But Philly, they gave up 42 points in the third quarter, man, to the Bucks. That is the worst defense in the NBA. Okay, and then the fourth quarter, Toronto, they scored 27 points, 20th worst offense in the NBA, and Philly, they finally played some defense in the fourth quarter. They only gave up 24 points. That's the 7th best defense in the NBA, guys. Last 10 times these two teams matched up against each other head to head, Philly does own the series 8-2 straight up, 7-3 against the spread, and 6 to the over, 4 to the under. Philly has won 7 games in a row against Toronto. Toronto hasn't beat them since October 26th of 2022. All right, Toronto in this 6-game streak that Philly's on, though, Toronto is 1-5 against the spread, and it has been virtually all on overs. Like, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I guess there's been 4 overs, 3 unders. So it changes. Okay. Now, we know the home team in this one's going to be Toronto. So when they play in Toronto, last year, Toronto got whooped 114-107. Philly covered the 5 and it went over 214. And then the last time they played, which is on March 31st, Philly won 135-120, okay, and Philly covered the 9 and it went over the 215. So in Toronto, last 2 times they played, it went over the 214.5 and 215, and they did end up covering. Right now, it's all the way up to the 219.5. Yeah. All right, so understanding all that, you got to understand who's going to actually win this game, guys, and what's going on, right? So, Philadelphia 76ers, why they got a good chance to win. The Raptors have lost 18 of their last 19 games against Atlantic Division opponents. The favorites have won each of the Raptors' last 16 games at Scotia Bank Arena. All right, the Raptors have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 12 games as home underdogs, and the favorites have covered the spread in each of the Raptors' last 11 games at Scotia Arena. Each of the Raptors' last 6 home games have gone over the total points line, and 11 of the 76ers' last 12 games against Eastern Conference opponents have gone over the total points line, man. I'm not running the window to back either one of these teams because with all these injuries right now, I'll be honest with you guys. 76ers are still down 2 of their top stars, and the Raptors, well, they're going to be without endless rotation. They're going to be with endless rotation players, and they just a bunch of bumps out there, man, to be honest with you, right? So the difference here is the 76ers will have the best player on the court, Maxey and Oubre, all right, both coming off strong season openers. So I'm taking the 76ers minus the 3.5, guys, and I like the 76ers to go out here and score some points. So I like 76ers over the 110.5, man. But let's look at the next game. And that next game is the New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. All right, so this game is set to kick off at 7:30 East Coast time. All right, line is Knicks -5. Over under is at 225. I believe that the line is still about in the same spot. Let me take a glance real quick. Yeah, it's still Pacers plus 5.5, and the over under is set at 228. So there has been some significant movement towards the over in this game, guys. All right, so let's take a look at this matchup real quick. All right, so the Pacers in their one game so far against the Pistons, they came out and they scored 115 points on 50.6% shooting and allowed 109 points on 43.2% shooting. Miles Turner scored 20 points, 9 boards, while Pascal Siakam, he got 19 points and 8 boards. Benedict Mathurin came in third as a double-digit scorer, and Tyrese Halliburton grabbed 5 boards. The Pacers are shooting 29% from beyond the arc and 88% from the free throw line. Pacers also are allowed 27.3% shooting from deep and grabbed a total of 39 boards in that game. Now, the New York Knicks did end up getting blown out by the Celtics in that home banner drop-in opener. All right, in Boston. The Knicks scored 109 points that night, shooting 55.1% shooting, and allowed 132 points on 50.5% shooting. While Jalen Brunson, he scored 22 points and got 1 board. Miles McBride, he ended up getting 22 points and 2 assists off the bench, guys. All right, Mikal Bridges, he came in third double-digit scorer, and Josh Hart grabbed 4 boards. Now, the New York Knicks only shot 36.7% from beyond the arc and 75% from the free throw line in the game. The Knicks also allowed 47.5% shooting from deep and only grabbed 34 boards in that game, man. Now, when you look at the injury report, of course, you got to understand that James Wiseman, he's still questionable with the Achilles for Indiana. Johnny Furphy, he's questionable with the ankle, and Isaiah Jackson's questionable with the undisclosed groin injury. All right, now, as far as New York is concerned and their injuries, McCullough Jr., he's out with the knee. Precious Achiuwa is still out and with the hamstring, and Mitchell Robinson is still going to be out with the ankle. All right, so by quarter, these two teams, what they showed us last game is Indiana came out first quarter, scored 25 points. That was the 15th best offense in the NBA for the first quarter, but the Knicks gave up 43 points to the Boston Celtics in the first quarter. That is literally the worst defense in the NBA in the first quarter, only because they played Boston, though, so take that with a grain of salt. Then second quarter, Indiana scored 24 points, while Boston gave up 31 points to the Boston Celtics, put them in the 22nd worst on defense in the second quarter versus the 22nd worst offense. So then we look in the third quarter. Third quarter, Indiana scored 33 points. That was the 11th best offense in the NBA, but the Knicks gave up 39 points. Okay, so that was the 27th worst defense in the NBA. Then in the fourth quarter now, they did tighten up a little bit. The Pacers scored 33 points. That was 4th best offense in the NBA. And the Knicks, they only gave up 19 points threes in the second quarter, in the fourth quarter. So that's the second best defense in the NBA at that point in time. So then we go ahead and we look at the New York Knicks in the first quarter. They scored 24 points, while Pacers gave up 31 points to the Detroit Pistons, guys. So that's the 17th best offense versus 23rd worst defense. Then we look in the second quarter. Knicks scored 31 points, 8th best offense versus Pacers giving up 27, which is the 12th worst defense. Okay, so then we look in the third quarter. Third quarter, the Knicks ended up scoring 32 points, 13th best offense, but the Pacers gave up 32 points to the Pistons. So that's the 14th worst defense in the third quarter. Then you look in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, New York Knicks scored 22 points. It's 24th worst offense in the NBA, and we all know Indiana only gave up 19 points to the Pistons, tightened up and won that game at the end. So that puts them tied as the second best defense in the NBA at this point, guys. All right, last 10 times these two teams did match up out there on the court. Pacers run is 6-4 straight up, 6-4 against the spread. It's been 5 to the over, 5 to the under. Pacers did win the last two times they played, back on May 19th and May 17th. The score was 130 to 109 and 116 to 103. Matter of fact, out of the last 5 times these two teams have played, well, hold on. Yeah, all 10 of these times they played was all last year, guys. All this was all last year. All right. Now, hold on. So they're playing in New York, right? The last game was in New York. We all know that in the playoffs. Pacers won 130 to 109. New York did win. It's a lot of playoff stuff going on in this, guys. All right, but this is a playoff rematch, and I expect it to be some fireworks in this game. All right, so the Knicks have won each of their last 16 games as favorites when playing with a rest advantage. The Pacers have lost 8 of their last 9 night games at Madison Square Garden, and the Pacers have failed to cover the spread in 7 of their last 8 games at Madison Square Garden when playing with a rest disadvantage. The Knicks have covered the spread in each of their last 5 night games following a road loss. As far as the total is concerned, 9 of the Pacers' last 10 games as road underdogs have gone over the total points line, and each of the Knicks' last 4 home openers as favorites have gone over the total points line, guys. The Pacers are a healthier team, and getting them with a decent amount of points is definitely appealing. However, the Knicks are at home, and they got to be eager to rebound from that embarrassing loss to the Celtics. Like, for real, they got to tighten up on that one. The Knicks have to get their revenge that they have on their mind after getting bounced in the playoffs as well, man. This is a revenge spot. Now, the Knicks are thin in the front court with Noah Chua and Robinson, but the Knicks are in massive motivation bounce back spot. I'm not going to lay those points, though, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the 5.5, probably buy it up to 7.5, and I love the over in this game. Love the over to 228. Well, Pacers games usually don't go over on the road. Just let you know on last season, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I think that the Knicks are going to try to come out here and put up some points, man. So you might want to also look at the Knicks team total points. It's at 114.5 right now. I would definitely be interested in that Knicks team total over the 114.5. Probably better than that than the Pacers plus the 5.5, to be honest with you. And the next game we're going to look at is the Atlanta Hawks versus the Charlotte Hornets. All right, so this game is going to kick off at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Atlanta minus 5.5. Over-under is at 230.5. The over-under has since gone down to 224.5. So we've had significant drop to the under in this game. All right, in a few hours, obviously. All right, so definitely want to take a note on that, guys. Understand that. So in the one game where the Charlotte Hornets beat the Rockets, all right, the Charlotte Hornets are averaging 110 points on 44.7% shooting and allowed 105 points on 36.7% shooting. LaMelo Ball, he scored 34 points and got 8 rebounds, while Trey Mann, he ended up getting 24 points and 6 rebounds. Miles Bridges, he came in as the third double-digit scorer, and Cody Martin grabbed 8 boards. The Charlotte Hornets shot 38.5% from beyond the arc and 79.2% from the free throw line. Now, the Charlotte Hornets also allowed 30.2% shooting from deep and grabbed 56 boards. Atlanta, they beat the Nets, all right, in their one game. In Atlanta, they scored 120 points averaging 48.8% shooting and allowed 116 points on 44% shooting. Trae Young, he ended up getting 30 points, 5 boards, while Okungwu, he ended up getting 28 points and 8 boards. Dyson Daniels, he came in as a third double-digit scorer, and DeAndre Hunter, he ended up grabbing 6 boards. Atlanta did end up shooting 32.1% from beyond the arc and 71.7% from the free throw line. The Hawks also allowed 39.5% shooting from deep and grabbed 45 boards. As far as injury reports concerned with these two teams, it's a long one still, guys. So, Zeller's still out for Atlanta with the personal problems. Seth Lundy's out with the ankle. Buffkin's out with the shoulder. Bogdanovich is out with the hamstring. And Barlow, he's questionable with the knee injury that he's managing. And then when you're looking at Charlotte's got some injuries too. Josh Green, he's out with the Achilles. Brandon Miller's out with the hip. He exited the last game and is unlikely to participate in this game. Mark Williams, he's probable with the foot injury that he's hobbled by. Saloon, he's questionable with the finger that he's nursing. Nick Smith Jr., he's got a groin, he's questionable. KJ Simpson, he's questionable with the hamstring. And Daquan Jeffries, he's out of commission with the hand. All right. So looking at these two teams and looking just trying to understand what they did the last 10 times they played each other, right? So Charlotte 7-3. They run this straight up in the last 10 times they played, and they also run against the spread. It's been they also run that 7-3 as well, and it's been 5 to the over and 5 to the under in the last 10 times they played. Last season, these two teams did match up 4 times. Charlotte won 3 of the 4 games, man, and the most amount of points Charlotte scored in those games was 122 points, and the least amount of points they scored in those games was 91. All right, now. And that was in Atlanta. Now, the last 2 times they did match up in Atlanta. Last time it was Charlotte, 115 and 114. And the time before that, on March 23rd, it was 132 to 91 Atlanta, guys. All right, so understanding all that, man. The Hornets have lost each of their last 7 road games against Eastern Conference opponents following a win. The home team has won each of the Hawks' last 4 games, and the Hornets have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 7 road games against Eastern Conference opponents following a win. The home team has covered the spread in 4 of the last 5 games between the Hornets and the Hawks. All right, now each of the Hornets' last 9 games against Eastern Conference opponents have gone over the total points line, and each of the Hawks' last 9 games, home games, have gone over the total points line. The Hawks are getting the benefit of the doubt, basically, because they're at home, but they struggle to put away the Nets in their opener and could have easily lost. Whereas the Hornets, they got a fabulous performance from Ball, and with all that said, it's something to keep an eye on, as they'll have the value with them on this game if they keep playing at such a high level. You know what I mean? So the Hawks got a lot of injuries, including Bogdanovich. So it's kind of surprising to see them as big favorites right here. I'm not going to lie. I think this is a free pick. All right. And I'm running with the Hornets plus the 5.5. All right. I also like the over. Well, actually, no, because it's gone down 6 points, so I'm not even going to mess with that. But I do like the Hornets plus the 5.5. I'm definitely playing that. But let's go ahead and let's look at this next game. And that next game will be the Detroit Pistons at the Cleveland Cavaliers. This game kicks off at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Cleveland by 10. Over/under is set at 226. There has been some movement though. It's gone up a little bit. It's over/under is at 226.5, and the line has since moved to Pistons plus 10.5. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about this real quick, man. All right, so the Pistons lost to the Pacers. They scored 109 points on 43.2% shooting and allowed 115 points on 50.6% shooting. Cade Cunningham came out and got 28 points and 5 boards, while Jaden Ivey, he ended up with 17 points and 4 assists. Tim Hardaway Jr., he was the third double-digit scorer, and Malik Beasley, he ended up grabbing 3 boards. Pistons, they ended up shooting 27.3% from beyond the arc and 85.7% from the free throw line. Pistons also allowed 29% shooting from deep and grabbed 38 boards. Whereas Cleveland ended up beating the hell out of the Raptors. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are averaging 136 points, or they scored 136 points, 58.6% shooting, and they gave up 106 points. and only allowed 41.9% shooting. Evan Mobley, he ended up with 25 points and 3 assists, while Donovan Mitchell, he got 21 points and 3 assists. Karis LeVert, he ended up being the third double-digit scorer, and Ty Jerome, he ended up grabbing 2 boards. The Cleveland Cavaliers are shooting 46.7% from beyond the arc and 76.9% from the free throw line. Cleveland Cavaliers ended up allowing 38.7% shooting from deep, though, and only grabbed 36 boards in that game. You look at the injury report. Detroit, Sir Thompson, he's still out with the illness, expected to miss a extended period of time, and Clinton, he's still out with the calf. Cleveland, Amani Bates, he's out with the knee, and Max Strus is still dealing with that ankle injury. He'll be out as well. In the last 10 times these two teams have matched up, the Cavs are 9-1 straight up. Against the spread, though, it's a little different. It's 4-4-2, so it's straight even against the spread in the last 10 times they matched up, and it's gone 2 to the over, 7 to the under with 1 push. All right, now Cleveland is on a 9-game win streak against this team. Detroit hadn't beat them since February 24th of 2022. Okay, and now they do cover when they get a large spread like 13.5. They'll cover that. They'll cover a 9. But Cleveland has also been known to cover 14 and 10.5 points. But that was more than a season ago that they did that. Last season, they didn't cover any of the large spreads. Matter of fact, Detroit had a push in there out of the 4 times they played, and then 2 covers, and Cleveland only covered once against them last season, man. So that's definitely something to take note of, right? And the last time they did play, they were playing in Detroit, though. In Cleveland, the most points they scored last year was 128, and the least amount of points Cleveland scored in Cleveland was 108, and that was an 8-point win back on November 17th, 2023. All right, but the most points that Detroit has scored is the 121 points in that 128 to 121 victory for Cleveland back on January 31st of this year. All right, so understanding all that, man. All right, you got to know that the Pistons have lost each of their last 29 games against Eastern Conference opponents that held a winning record. The Cavs have won each of their last 13 home games against Central Division opponents that held a losing record. And the Pistons have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 6 night games against, against Eastern Conference opponents that held a winning record. All right, and the Cavs have covered the spread in 7 of their last 8 games as home favorites against opponents who are on the first leg of a back-to-back. Now, 7 of the last 8 games against the Pistons and Cavs have gone under the total points line, and each of the Pistons' last 6 Friday road games have gone under the total points line, guys. All right, so the Cavs, they're more than capable of blowing doors off the Pistons, right? Especially if they're going to shoot 60% from the field again. But I don't think the Pistons are as bad as the Toronto Raptors, man. I'm not a fan of laying massive numbers like this early in the season, and I think the Pistons are going to be a better team than most people think. So I like the Pistons plus the 10.5. I understand why the movement with the line. Hell, if the line goes more, I want more. You know what I'm saying? If I can get it at the Pistons plus 12.5, I want that, right? And then as far as the over-under is concerned, I do like the under in this game. I like it under the 226.5, guys. But I don't know, y'all. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. On to the next game. And that next game is the Chicago Bulls at the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, so this game will be played at 8 p.m. East Coast time. Milwaukee. Line is Milwaukee minus 9.5. Over/under is set at 234. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at this matchup real quick, man. When you're looking at these two teams, you got to understand that the Bulls will be eager to bounce back after getting humbled by the Pelicans with a 123 to 111 defeat on Wednesday. All right, Zach LaVine, he led the team with 27 points, 10 of 17 shooting. Nikola Vucevic, he added 21 points and 11 boards on 8 of 12 shooting, while Jalen Smith, he chipped in with 15 points off the bench. As a team, the Bulls shot 48% from the field and 10 of 34 from three-point line, as they kept pace with the Pelicans in the first half. Only to leak 36 points in the third quarter to the Pelicans to pull away. Now, Josh Giddey, he ended up having a decent debut. He had 14 points on on shooting 5 of 11 from the field. And Kobe White, man, he only had 10 points, 6 assists on 4 of 13 from the field, right? Meanwhile, you got Milwaukee Bucks out there looking to stay hot after blowing the doors off of the 76ers when a 124-109 road season opener. Damian Lillard, he led the team with 30 points. He had 9 rebounds and 6 assists. While Giannis, he ended up with 25 points and 14 boards and 7 assists. While Taurean Prince and Bobby Portis Jr., they ended up with 16 points each. Now, as a team, the Bucks shot 53% from the field on 16 of 37 from three-point line as they took control of the game with 36 points scored in the second quarter before they exploded for 42 points in the third quarter to push the lead out to 22 points on that big opener stage, right? So let's go ahead and look at the injury report. Lonzo Ball, he's already out battling that knee injury. Chris Middleton, we already know he's out with the ankle. And Brook Lopez, he's probable fighting off that quadricep injury, but he is expected to be out there for the game, right? Last 10 times these teams did match up, Bucks own it 7-3 straight up, but against the spread it's 5-5, so that means it's even, and it's been 4 to the over, 6 to the under in the last 10 times they played. Last season they did play 4 times. Bucks won 3, Bulls won 1. All right, but the Bulls covered 3 of the 4 times that they played last year, guys. So you got to understand that there's definitely an opportunity here for the Bulls to actually cover. The most points that Milwaukee scored last year against them was 133 points. And the least amount of points they scored against them last year was 113. You know what I'm saying? 113 is the least amount of points they scored against them last year, guys. So you definitely expect some points in this game. Most points the Bulls scored was the 129. All right, that was on December 11th, and the least amount of points that they scored was 97 in the last time they played. That was on March 1st. It was 113-97. Milwaukee covered, and that was in Chicago, and it went under the 222, guys. All right, so understanding all that, you got to know that the Bulls have lost each of their last 13 Friday games against Central Division opponents that held a winning record. The Bucks have won each of their last 10 Friday games against Central Division opponents that held a losing record. The Bucks have covered the spread in each of their last 6 Friday games against Central Division opponents that held a losing record. And the Bulls have failed to cover the spread in 4 of their last 5 games on the first leg of a back-to-back against the Bucks. Right now, when you look at the total, man, 8 of the Bucks' last 9 home openers are gone over, and 6 of the Bulls' last 7 games have gone over the total points line. All right, so Bulls are still shorthanded with Lonzo Ball being ruled out already. The Bucks are still missing Chris Middleton. The Bulls weren't able to get the job done against the Pelicans in Game 1. They got mollywopped. And outside of Levine and Vucevic, they don't really look good. Now, Lillard really struggled to find his place in the Bucks last season. But he looked great on Wednesday, and I think he's in for another big game, guys. All right, I do like the Milwaukee Bucks team total over 120.5. That's what I'm rocking with. I also like the Bucks to probably cover that 9.5 as well. But I definitely would prefer to go with the Bucks over 120.5, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the next matchup, which is the Memphis Grizzlies visiting the Houston Rockets. All right, so this game will be played at 8 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Houston by 2.5. Over-under is set at 222. I believe that there has been some movement, so it's now Grizzlies plus 3, and the over-under is 222. Let's look at this matchup. Memphis Grizzlies will be gunning for a second straight victory after outlasting the Jazz in a thrilling 126-124 road win on Wednesday. Santi Aldama led the team as he turned 5 3-pointers, finished 27 points, as a man here, 24 points, 4 points, assists by Java. He steered the offense with 22 points to assist. As a team, the Grizzlies shot 47% from the field, 17 as they looked to be in trouble when they surrendered 17-point lead before they pulled away late in the fourth quarter to escape the victory. Now, meanwhile, in Houston, they'll be looking to bounce back in this one. Getting beat by the Now, Jalen Green led the team 21 points. Sengun getting 5 assists and 4 steals. Van Fleet chipped in 14 points and 6 assists. Miserable. 36% from the field, 13 of 43 from 3, 3-point line as they were dominated in the first half to build that, or they did dominate the first half to build an 18-point lead, only to get run down in the fourth quarter as they just couldn't make shots. And it was a quiet game. He only had 2 points in 31 minutes of action. Completely shot 4 of 18 from the field, 2 for 11 from behind the three. Looking at this matchup right here, right? You gotta understand that it's already for right? So the G.G. Jackson is out. Steve Kennard is questionable with the Jaren Jackson Jr. He's questionable with the hamstring. I think he's questionable with the leg injury. And Terrence Spencer, he's also questionable with the ankle. If you look over the Houston camp, the injuries, but the play that Brooks out with the injury expected to play, and Steven Adams is still not expected to start this game. All right, the last 10 times the two teams did match up. All right, the Grizzlies run this 6-4 straight up, but Houston runs it 5-4 and 1 against the field, and straight up even 5-5 on over-runs. So Houston did beat this team 3 times last year. Okay, yeah, they beat it 3 times last year, and Houston did cover on it last year. But so they could be Memphis did beat it last time they played, 121-113. I'm not sure if that was just the right win. And 7 of the Grizzlies' last 8 games as underdogs against opponents who on the first leg of a back-to-back have gone under the total points line. So figure that out if you want to. All right, so the line was Memphis plus 1.5. The line has moved at one point to Memphis plus 3. Right, the Grizzlies are still shorthanded with Luke Kennard, G.G. Jackson, and Jaren Jackson Jr. all ruled out, guys. Steven Adams is going to be still missing for the Rockets. So the Grizzlies were somewhat lucky to escape that game on Wednesday after blowing a 17-point lead, but I don't think they should be underdogs in this game against the Rockets, who just lost to Charlotte. So I'm going to take Memphis with the 3 points, all right, and I'm going to rock out like that. Let's look at this next game. All right, so we're looking at this next game. Is Golden State Warriors visiting the Utah Jazz. This game will be kicked off 9:30 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Golden State by 3. Over/under is up to 233. Line has since dropped a little bit. Warriors minus 2.5, and over/under's gone up a tick to 233.5. All right, so looking at these two teams, you got to understand what's going on with Golden State, man. They'll be feeling good after making light work of a lowly Trailblazers 140-104 road win on Wednesday night. Now, Buddy Hield, he led the team with 22 points in just 15 minutes off the bench. Andrew Wiggins, he had 20 points. Steph Curry, he had 17 points with 9 rebounds and 10 assists, while Moses Moody, he chipped in 15 points. As a team, the Warriors shot 51% from the field, 20 of 48 from three-point line, and they caught fire with 41 points in the second quarter to take a double-digit lead into halftime now, which only grew in the second half as they poured it on with another 78 points thanks to a strong production from their bench. Meanwhile, in Utah, the Jazz are hoping to bounce back in this one after coming up painfully short in the Grizzlies game with a 126-124 loss and a home defeat on Wednesday. Lauri Markkanen led the team with 35 points and 9 boards on 9 of 15 shooting. Jordan Clarkson, he added 17 points, 7 assists off the bench, while Walker Kessler, he chipped in with 16 points, 14 boards, and 5 blocks. As a team, the Jazz shot 47% from the field, 10 of 26 from the three-point line, and they showed plenty of fight to claw their way back from that 17-point deficit, only to allow Grizzlies to slip away in a close finish. All right, so when you're looking at the injury report, DeAnthony Melton, he's questionable with the chest injury. All right, Draymond Green, he's questionable with the knee injury, uncertain if he's going to play. And Steph Curry, he's questionable with the hip injury, uncertain if he's going to play. Johnny Juzang, all right, he's still out for Utah, and so is Isaiah Collier. Looking at the last 10 times these two teams matched up, Golden State runs it 8-2 against the spread. Golden State runs it 6-3-1, and it's been 5 to the over, 4 to the under with one push. Golden State did beat this team 4 times in a row last year. Golden State only covered 2 times, and Utah covered twice. Anytime that it was a double-digit spread, Utah did cover, and when it was a small spread, Golden State ended up covering. Most points Golden State scored against this team last year was 129, and the least amount of points they scored was 112. All right, the most amount of points that Utah scored against them last year was 116, and that final time they played each other on April 14th when it was 123 to 116, Utah did cover. Those last 2 times they did play last season did go over, and let's go ahead and let's look at how these two teams matched up out there, man. So understanding that, you got to know the Warriors lost each of their last 2 games as favorites following the win. The home team has won 8 of their last 10 games between the Warriors and the Jazz. All right. The Warriors have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 4 games against Western Conference opponents that held a losing record. And the underdogs have covered the spread in 4 of the Warriors' last 5 games, guys. All right. So understanding all that, you also got to know that each of the Warriors' last 9 Friday games have gone under the total points line, and each of the Jazz last 4 games against the Warriors following a home loss have gone over the total points line, guys. All right, so the Warriors could be shorthanded for this one, as we all know, Steph and Draymond are both listed as questionable. Jazz are still missing Collier and Juzang. I'm thinking this is a stay away game, but if I'm going to play the game, I would have to take Utah. Plus the 2.5, maybe plus 3, just because it is in Utah. I got to give Utah the benefit of the doubt. On to the next one. All right, so now let's take a look at this New Orleans Pelicans versus the Portland Trail Blazers. This game's played at 10 p.m. East Coast time. Line is New Orleans by 5.5, and the over-under is at 218.5. Wow, that is just like a very close spread. Even though I know it's early in the season, that for me, that's still like a very close spread for them be playing the Trailblazers after the Trailblazers look. But let's go ahead and let's look at this matchup, right? So New Orleans will be looking to stay undefeated after blowing past the Bulls 123 to 111 in their home season opener win. Brandon Ingram led the team with 33 points, 13 of 23 shooting, while C.J. McCollum, he had 23 points, 5 assists. DeJounte Murray chipped in 14 points, 8 boards, 10 assists. As a team, the Pelicans shot 46% from the field, 14 of 37 from the three-point line. They kept pace with the Bulls in a tightly contested contest in the first half, but they broke away in the third quarter with 36 points and kept that lead till the end of the game. Meanwhile, Portland Trailblazers got the doors blown off of them by the Warriors 140 to 104 on Wednesday night. Scoot Henderson led the team, scoring 22 points off the bench. Jeremy Grant added 16, while Denai Avdija, all right, and Anthony Simons each scored 15 points. As a team, the Trailblazers just shot 39% from the field, 8 of 34 from three-point line, and they struggled to match up with the Warriors from the start. They were never a threat in this game, and they fell behind by double digits going into halftime. So the Trailblazers committed 17 turnovers, allowing the Warriors to just scorch them, all right, for 32 fast break points, guys. All right, looking at the injury report for these two teams, Zion Williamson still probable with the illness. He's expected to play against the Blazers today. Herbert Jones, he's questionable with the back. He exited the contest last game with the back injury. Remains to be seen if he'll be out there. DeJounte Murray will be out with the hand. He sustained a fractured left hand. He's going to miss some extended time. And Trey Murphy's still out with the hamstring. With Portland, Robert Williams III is still going to be out with the hamstring. Matthias Thybulle will be questionable with the knee. All right. And Shaedon Sharpe, he's still going to be out with that shoulder injury. Last 10 times these two teams matched up, Pelicans run this 9-1 straight up, 7-3 against the spread, and it's been 2 to the over, 8 to the under in the last 10 times they played. Literally, they only had 1 over in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've had 2. Okay. So yeah. Like, it hasn't been good as far as scoring is concerned in this series, guys, just to say that, right? All right, now, understanding that, let's go that the Trailblazers have lost each of the last 22 games against Western Conference opponents that held a winning record. The Pelicans have won each of their last 14 games against the Trailblazers teams that held a losing record, and the Pelicans have covered the spread in each of their last 6 road games following a home win. Trailblazers also failed to cover the spread in 6 of their last 7 games against Southwestern Division opponents that held a winning record. Each of the Pelicans' last 6 night games at Moda Center have gone under the total points line, and each of the Trailblazers' last 4 home games against the Pelicans following a home loss have gone under the total points line, guys. The Pelicans are shorthanded with DeJounte Murray being out, Trey Murphy, and of course, we all know the injuries for the Trailblazers are Shaedon Sharpe and Robert Williams and Ty Stable. But at the end of the day, the injury to Murray, man, he really spoils an impressive win for the Pelicans in their season opener. I don't think it's going to cost them too much against the rebuilding Trailblazers in this game. So I like the New Orleans Pelicans minus the 5.5. Matter of fact, I love them minus the 5.5, man. I could probably rock with that under 218.5. I could probably take that under. All right, but looking at the last game, which is the Phoenix Suns visiting the LA Lakers. This game kicks off at 10 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Los Angeles -2. The over-under is at 223. All right, and there's no movement on that line right now, guys. All right, so the Phoenix Suns will be gunning for a second straight win to start the season after outlasting the Clippers in a thrilling 116-113 overtime road win on Wednesday. Kevin Durant led the team with 25 points and 7 boards. Bradley Beal, he had 24 points, 8 12 shooting, while Devin Booker chipped in 15 points on 6 assists. As a team, the Suns shot 48% from the field, 15-38 from the three-point line as they pulled away in overtime after Kevin Durant drained a clutch shot at the end of the fourth quarter to extend the game. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers will be feeling pretty good after they took down the Timberwolves in a 110-103 home win Tuesday. Anthony Davis, he led the team with 36 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks, while Rui Hachimura, he provided an early spark and finished with 18 points, while LeBron, he came out and gave us 16 points, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Now, as a team, Lakers shot 44% from the field, just 5 of 30 from three-point line, but they played great defense to hold the Timberwolves to just 19 points in the second quarter, and where they led by as many as 19 points. Now, the Lakers' poor shooting from behind the arc allowed Timberwolves to come back in this contest, so you got to pay attention to that, guys. All right, now injury report. Grayson Allen's probable with the Achilles. He is expected to suit up in this game. Josh Okogie, he's out with the hamstring. Bradley Beal, he's probable dealing with that shoulder soreness, so it looks like he'll still be out there. And Damian Lee's probable dealing with the hamstring. Looks like he's expected to play. For the Lakers, Hood for Schifino, he's questionable with the illness. Troro, he's questionable with the hand injury. Vanderbilt, he's still out with the foot. And Cam Reddish, he's got an undisclosed injury, but he is probable. Okay, but we'll see. Christian Wood, he's still out with the knee injury. And Koloko, he's out with the illness as well, guys. Last 10 times these two teams did match up, it's 5-5 straight up, 5-5 against the spread. It's been 4 to the over, 6 to the under in the last 10. Phoenix have won the last 2 games and covered the last 2 games that they played against each other last year. But the Lakers did win the first 2 and cover the first 2. All right, so it really doesn't matter where they play because they've each won in each other's home. The most points that the Lakers scored was 122, and the most points that Suns have scored was 127. The least amount of points the Lakers have scored, though, is 103, and the least amount of points, or I'm sorry, not 103, 109, and the least amount of points that the Suns have scored was that 103, guys. So there's a decent range in there, if you know what you're looking at, right? So the favorites have won each of the Suns' last 13 games at Crypto.com Arena. All right, the Suns have lost each of their last 7 road games on the first leg of a back-to-back, and the Suns have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 7 road games on the first leg of a back-to-back. The Lakers have covered the spread in each of their last 7 Friday games against Western Conference opponents that held a winning record. All right, and So for me, okay, the Suns are still slightly short-handed, okay, and the Lakers, they're missing a couple too. The Suns should have taken plenty of confidence in their overtime victory over the Clippers, but it really shouldn't have been down like that because the Clippers were short-handed, like they were missing their best players, okay. And then the Lakers, they should have done better to put away the who did we just play, man? The Timberwolves. Okay, sorry guys, brain fart right there. All right, but they are completely healthy and they haven't played since Tuesday. Okay, so right here I'll make an argument for the Lakers money line. Yeah, Lakers money line, guys. All right, that's all the games. I hope y'all have a blessed day. Stay safe. I'ma holla at y'all. See you at the window. Peace.